Coming into Singapore Grand Prix hoping for some points. Oh, what Mercedes got was another hard lesson. One of the hardest actually. Toto Wolff, the team's principal, said the same thing at Mercedes' result just after the end of the race. Today was another hard lesson. Mercedes had hope of winning its first race of the season in Singapore. In the end, it became a weekend to quickly forget. Toto Wolff actually knew that a street circuit win won't be much easy to realize. And this race ended being another tough lesson to add to all the lessons Mercedes staff learned in the hard way this year. But it turns out that the team had found what might be a big chunk of performance for 2023 Formula 1 car. Toto Wolff, during his team's press release, expressed his deep disappointment that only 2 World Championship points were scored. Wolff praised his driver Lewis Hamilton, who could finish inside the points at the 9th position, but also praised the W13, which was there. It didn't help the team to achieve a podium position, but this helped them understand better next year car concept changes. This season has given us several tough lessons, and today was another one. Lewis was fighting for the podium for much of the race, but also battling a car that was on a knife edge today in a difficult condition and on the bumpy surface. After he looked up and damaged the wing, the stop to change tires on the nose cost him position. Then he lost out even more when cars ahead pitted under safety car and jumped ahead. That left him stuck in a train of cars on a very similar age tires, and he couldn't make up any ground. The Brackley-based squad thinks the Singapore Challenge and a huge disappointment allowed them to unlock a big chunk of car performance to use for the next season's Formula 1 car design, aiming to get back to the front teams of the grid. Talking to Autosport about the team's journey to understand this year's flaws in order to avoid repeating the same errors for next year, team boss Wolff stated, "To turn the ship in this industry is a little bit like an oil tanker. First, you have to understand what the root cause is for your non-performance, and then you have to peel the various skins off. What's the first layer? What is the second layer? Are we really on top of all question?" And the answer is no, we're not. But I think a big chunk of performance that we're missing, we have discovered. Mercedes has endured such a hard and tricky campaign this year with the W13. A huge lack of performance for a constructor champion of these last years added to the team's nightmare, which was porpoising. Trying to figure out the real reason behind these problems, Mercedes was unable to catch or match its rivals Red Bull and Ferrari. Working hard to improve it during the season and realized what could have been a swift recovery wasn't possible. And one of the reasons was the cost gap, which means the team is limited and can't get to make changes to its current car during the season, and it knows would have made it quicker. As the next year's budget are being reset, Mercedes are trying to get the maximum amount of information and lessons to learn from its mistake with the W13 this year, and the team now having a much greater understanding of where their challenger is actually lacking. Mercedes is optimistic of the level of progress it will make with its W14, but still prudent declaring this early than facing a tough reality, as it was the case multiple times during races this year. The team got optimistic, fan raised the hope, and both end up being disappointed. Wolff needed to clarify things, explaining that he with his team's technical staff and engineers are understanding much better their errors and the changes they need to make, but it wouldn't be possible to make this year. Wolff expects the next year's challenge will be better version, but a lot of hard work is still needed. It's not something we can change this year. It's a decision that we've made for next year, but I'm not 100% confident to say here next year we'll be fighting for the World Championship. The aim is, the expectation is, but there is still work to do. Missing its second pole position of the season in Singapore, as Lewis Hamilton missed out on the top spot at Marina Bay on Saturday by 0.054 seconds. Mercedes is still trying to get in the fight at the front. However, Toto Wolff explained that this performance was a sign of team progress, but this result couldn't have been achieved without the great performance and the drive-on brilliance from Lewis Hamilton. Wolff also revealed that the team's simulation matched the races and driver opinion about the circuit, and that makes the team feel more confident and keep on working hard. This was his place, and I think it was not that easy to drive a car. It's been difficult all year, so I find myself always thinking, we fought for pole position. That's good, because we're used to it in the past years. As a matter of fact, I think he just outdrove the car. It was on the knife edge. I think if he puts the lap together, then we are on pole. But I think we can be very satisfied with the performance. It's one of the tracks that our simulation said it should suit us more, apart from the bumps. And that was exactly the comments of the driver, that the ride is really bad, the car was too stiff, but the aero seems to work in the bandwidth, so we're looking better than our many other circuits. Innovation of new car concepts while managing the cost gap has always been a major logistical issue for the Formula 1 first-range teams, which in some cases had been spending more than twice as much as the current weight limit. With all new technical regulations for the 21 and the 22 seasons, as well as the preparation time between them, has been particularly one of the most difficult times to manage financially. Mercedes were in a very difficult situation and discussed balancing sustaining its style campaign with developing its 2022 car under the new regulations. The team had to stop improving the last year's car earlier than Red Bull.
Pull out of the garage, what lies ahead.
We couldn't reduce our overweight, which is double-digit this year, because we didn't have the money to produce the new parts and put them on the car. It wasn't there. You're fighting a totally different league if you have been pushing the limit upwards. We know there is performance on the table for this year, which we couldn't bring. The same for Ferrari as far as I understand. Now with the Budget Cup cheating allegations Red Bull is facing, we will be waiting for the FIA's investigations to end in order to predict how front teams will perform next season. So what do you think about this, guys? Tell us in the comment down below. Do you really think Mercedes found the needed data to improve next year? If cheating allegations turn to be real, how can this affect next year's cars or budgets? The coming days will definitely bring us answers. We will be waiting for your answers too in the comment section below. That was all for today's video, guys. Thanks for watching. See you next time.